I never imagined my own flesh and blood would pawn my life for a quick six-figure fix, leaving me to rot in the aftermath. When the phone rang that gray Tuesday afternoon, Mom's voice cracking like cheap whiskey over ice, Dad grumbling in the background about family obligations, I didn't scream or hang up. No. I just gripped the receiver tighter, tasting the metallic tang of betrayal I'd swallowed years ago, and whispered, "Tell me everything." And in that moment, as their words tumbled out like a confession in a confessional booth gone wrong, I knew the swap wasn't some freak accident anymore. It was my goddamn ticket to flipping the script on the whole rotten lot of them. It started 6 months back, in the kind of nondescript lab tucked away in a Jersey warehouse district where Big Pharma hides its dirtiest secrets. I'd been Hazel Whitaker then. Fully, painfully me, 28. Clawing my way up as a junior analyst at a midtown hedge fund, the kind of place where dreams go to die under fluorescent lights and endless Excel sheets. My brother, Ethan, golden boy, trust fund charmer, the one who'd always skated through life on that easy grin and our parents' blind faith, had dragged me into it. Just one favor. He'd said over takeout tie in my cramped Brooklyn walk-up, his eyes darting like he owed the delivery guy money. It's a trial. Cutting-edge shit. Swaps consciousness for, 48 hours. Erases debt memories or some crap. I need it bad. I should have walked. But Ethan wasn't just my brother. He was the anchor. The reason I'd covered for him since we were kids stealing smokes from Dad's glove box. Back in high school, when he crashed Dad's Cadillac into a ditch after a kegger buzzed out of his skull on whatever was floating around the suburbs of Philly, I'd taken the blame. Said it was me behind the wheel. Me who snuck out. Grounded for a month. Lost my scholarship shot. While he got a slap on the wrist and a new set of wheels for graduation. Family protects family. Mom had cooed, hugging me like it was a badge of honor. That was the first crack in the foundation. The secret I'd buried so deep it festered like an untreated wound. Fast forward a decade, Ethan's quick fix had snowballed into a black hole debt pit. Gambling dens in Atlantic City. Shady crypto schemes peddled by Wall Street wannabes. And whispers of loans from guys who collected with baseball bats instead of emails. $590,000. To be exact, the number that would haunt me like a bad tattoo. He'd come to me because I was the responsible one, the girl who'd bootstrapped her way to a six-figure salary while he bounced from one half-baked startup to the next. The lab gig? Some underground neurotech trial funded by a venture capitalist who moonlighted as a loan shark. They swap you with a donor, Ethan explained, sketching it out on a napkin stained with pad thai sauce. You wake up in their body. They in yours. Memory's fuzzy for a bit, but it rewires the guilt, makes you forget why you owe. Poof, debt forgiven in your head, even if the books say otherwise. I laughed it off at first. Body swaps? Sounded like sci-fi bullshit. The kind of plot twist in those Netflix thrillers where everyone ends up dumber than they started. But desperation has a way of blurring lines. Ethan showed me the emails, threats from VC enterprises, coded language about repossession that screamed mob ties. Our parents, retired in a Florida condo that smelled like mothballs and regret, were clueless, Ethan's golden facade intact. If I said no, he'd crash and burn, take them down with him. So I signed the waiver, lied to my boss about a family emergency, and showed up at the lab on a humid August night, heart pounding like a bass drop at a Bushwick rave. The procedure was clinical, cold, strapped to a gurney under buzzing halogens, for drip burning like fire ants in my veins. The donor was a ghost in the machine, Victor Kane, 45. The VC. Himself. The puppet master pulling Ethan's strings. Tall. Silver Fox handsome in a sociopathic way. With eyes like polished obsidian and a Rolodex of politicians on speed dial. He volunteered for the swap. He said, to test the empathy module. Bullshit. I learned later it was leverage swap with debtors to live their lives. Squeeze out every last drop of fear before foreclosing. When the drugs hit, it was lights out. Blackness. Then a jolt like being reborn in someone else's skin. I woke up gasping in a penthouse overlooking Central Park. Silk sheets tangled around legs that weren't mine. Victor's body lean, gym sculpted, reeking of expensive cologne and entitlement. My hands, his hands flexed, calloused from golf clubs, not keyboard marathons. Panic clawed up my throat as fragmented memories flickered. Boardrooms. Bourbon neat. The thrill of ruining lives over lunch. And there, buried like a landmine, the truth Ethan had hidden. The loan wasn't just gambling debt. It was blood money for a hit. Victor's crew had whacked a rival lender in a Queens parking garage 2 years back. Pinned it on a fall guy. Me. I'd been the patsy. Unknowingly. Because Ethan had forged my signature on a dummy corp to launder the cash. Cops had raided my apartment once. Questioned me for hours. But no hard evidence. I'd thought it was a glitch. A wrong number. But it was my brother. Selling me out to save his ass. While Victor pulled the strings. That first day in Victor's skin was a fever dream. I stumbled to the floor-to-ceiling windows, staring at the city that had chewed me up and spat me out. My old life, Hazel's life, echoed in my head like a bad radio signal, the cramped apartment, the endless grind, the way Ethan would call at 2 a.m., slurring apologies I always forgave. Now I was him, or he was me, wherever his consciousness had landed in my body, probably nursing a hangover in Brooklyn, oblivious. The swap was meant to last 48 hours, but something glitched. The lab techs later confessed, after I made them, it was experimental, neural pathways could snag, prolonging the merge. For me, it stretched into weeks. A limbo where I navigated Victor's empire on autopilot, piecing together the rot. Ethan in my body called that night. Voice high and frantic. My own Brooklyn twang twisted with his panic. What the fuck? I'm you? This can't be real. I played it cool. Victor's baritone rumbling like thunder. Told him to lay low. That it'd wear off. But inside, rage simmered. I rifled through Victor's files, digital vaults behind biometric locks that his fingers, my temporary ones, popped like candy wrappers. There it was, the ledger. $590,000 funneled through H. Whitaker Consulting, my name on every dotted line. Ethan hadn't just borrowed, he'd framed me as the front for Victor's murder-for-hire cleanup. If the feds ever connected dots, I'd be the one in orange. Not him. Our parents? They'd co-signed the illusion, feeding me lines about Ethan's just down on his luck while pocketing kickbacks from Victor's generous loans to keep their condo afloat. By day 3, I was deep in the underbelly. Victor's world was a viper's nest, meetings in smoke-filled backrooms of steakhouses off Wall Street, where suits with cufflinks worth my yearly rent traded tips on laundering through NFTs. I met his crew, the enforcers with neck tattoos and dead eyes, the lawyers who could spin a confession into a plea deal. They called me Vic, slapped my back like I was one of them, and I nodded, smiled that shark grin. all while mapping escape routes in my head. The power was intoxicating. A dark thrill that whispered justifications. Why not use it? Why not turn it back on them? The call from Mom came on swap day 10. As I lounged in Victor's leather armchair, nursing a scotch that burned less than the truth. My phone, Hazel's phone, buzzing in my purse across town, rerouted to his. Hazel. Honey, it's about Ethan. Her voice was floor-to-thick. Laced with that passive-aggressive quiver she weaponized like a southern belle at a bake sale gone wrong. Dad chimed in, gruff and unyielding. Your brother's in deep.
Kiddo.
$590K to some venture outfit. They say it's your duty. Blood's thicker. You know, we've got the condo payment coming up. Can't bail him without you. Duty. The word hit like a sucker punch. I pictured them in that sun-bleached living room. Faded photos of us kids on the mantel, me in braces. Ethan with his Little League trophy, while they twisted the knife. I didn't cry. Didn't rage. I just smiled, Victor's lips curling in that predatory way, and said, tell me more. They spilled it all. Ethan's misunderstanding with VC.
Empathy.
How he'd borrowed in my name for business, the threats of foreclosure on their slice of paradise. You're doing so well up there in the city, Mom wheedled. Just this once. For family. For family. The phrase echoed, a mocking mantra from every holiday dinner where I'd bitten my tongue while they toasted Ethan's potential. That night, as the swap held firm, neural anchors refusing to dislodge, I made my first controversial call. I wired $50,000 from Victor's slush fund to the lab, buying time. Told the text to enhance the empathy module. What I really wanted was control, leverage, and revenge, served cold as a Manhattan winter. The glitch in the swap turned out to be my unintended gift. A neural loophole that let me cherry-pick memories like tracks on a Spotify playlist gone rogue. Victor's flooded in during quiet moments, flashes of boardroom conquests. The metallic click of a silenced pistol in that queen's lot. The rush of signing off on hits disguised as asset recovery. But woven through it all was the secret he'd buried deeper than Ethan's lies. The murder I'd been framed for? It wasn't just a rival. It was personal. Victor had ordered the hit on Marcus Hale, a whistleblower who'd uncovered VC's ties to a Ponzi scheme that tanked my mom's retirement fund back in '08. Marcus was her financial advisor, the guy who'd promised safe bets before vanishing with the cash. I'd idolized him as a kid, called him Uncle Mark. And Ethan? He'd known. Fed Victor the tip to settle the score, pocketing a finder's fee that seeded his gambling spiral. It twisted something in me. That revelation, like finding out the family Bible was printed on counterfeit bills. I started small with the power trip. As Victor, I audited Ethan's debts, dragging my feet on collections. His calls in my voice, shrill with my brother's fear, came daily. Vic?
Man.
What's the holdup? Has us freaking out in your pad. She says it's permanent or some shit. I laughed, low and mean. Victor's timbre making it sound like a death knell. Tell Hazel to chill. Family first, right? The irony was thicker than the fog rolling off the Hudson. By week 3, I was playing both sides. In Victor's body, I'd suit up in his bespoke Armani, hit the streets of the financial district like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Lunches at Delmonico's with senators who owed him favors. Evenings in speakeasies where deals were sealed with handshakes and hidden recorders I'd planted. I gathered dirt, emails linking our parents to Victor's philanthropy pack, kickbacks disguised as consulting fees for Dad's old union buddies. Mom's bridge club? Funded by laundered cash. They'd built their golden years on the same rot that had poisoned mine. And Ethan, the linchpin, his startups, were fronts for Victor's crypto washes. The $590,000, just the tip of an iceberg that could sink us all if it ever surfaced. The controversial decisions crept in like bad habits. First, I ghosted a debtor, a single mom in the Bronx who'd missed payments on a payday loan Victor's outfit had predatory flipped into six figures. Normally, his crew would have repossessed her car, maybe roughed up her kid for leverage. Instead, I had them forgive it, anonymously. Felt like justice. A middle finger to the machine. But then the whispers started. Victor's inner circle eyeing me funny, wondering why Vic was going soft. One night, over cigars in a Tribeca lounge, Gino, the enforcer with the snake tack coiling up his neck, leaned in, breath like garlic and regret. "Boss, you good?" That empathy trial messing with your head. I met his gaze. Victor's cold blue eyes unflinching. "Empathy's for suckers, Gino. But mercy? That's power." He bought it.
For now.
But I knew the clock was ticking. Meanwhile, in my body, Ethan was unraveling. He texted from my phone, sloppy drunk selfies from my apartment. Captioned, "This chick life sucks.
Bro."
When we switching back, I fed him crumbs. Soon. Just play along. But I wasn't switching back. Not yet. I hacked the lab servers. Victor's credentials were God mode. Tweaking the protocol to extend the swap indefinitely. A kill switch. I called it in my head, the option to sever his consciousness if he pushed too far. Controversial? Hell yes. Murder by remote? In a court of law? It'd be first degree. But in the court of my shattered trust, it was self-defense. The parent's second call hit like a sequel nobody asked for. This one laced with ultimatums. Dad's voice boomed through the speaker. All bluster and no bite. "Hazel, we've talked to the lenders. They're willing to negotiate if you front the cash. It's your signature on the docs. For Christ's sake, your duty to fix this." Mom jumped in, sobbing theatrically. "We raised you better than to let your brother drown." Blood's blood. Honey, I was in Victor's office then. Floor-to-ceiling glass framing the Empire State like a conquered kingdom. I leaned back, swirling a crystal tumbler of Macallan, and let the silence stretch until it snapped. "Duty," I echoed, Victor's drawl turning it venomous. "Funny word. Coming from you. Remember Marcus Hale? The advisor who robbed you blind." A beat of stunned air.
What?
What does that have to do with? Everything. I cut in. Ethan didn't just borrow. He sold me out. Framed me for cover-up on a hit. Victor's hit. On Uncle Mark. And you? You took the payoffs to look the other way. Lies by omission. Sure. But truths they'd buried. Their denials tumbled out, gaslighting gold. That's crazy talk. Your brother's just stressed. I hung up, heart hammering, and did the unthinkable. I transferred another $100,000, not to them, but to a burner account I'd set up under Hazel's name. Seed money for my exit strategy. Turning the tables wasn't just about money anymore. It was about dismantling the dynasty of deceit they'd built on my back. As the swap dragged into month 2, the tension coiled tighter than a spring in a Bronx tenement trap. Victor's consciousness, faint echoes in the neural static, started fighting back. Nightmares where I'd wake sweating. His memories bleeding into mine, the crack of that pistol. Marcus's please cut short. I'd bolt upright in the penthouse bed, staring at the skyline, wondering if I was becoming him. The man who'd built an empire on broken backs like mine. But the power.
God.
The power. I greenlit a deal that crushed a rival fund, pocketing millions in the process. Used it to buy silence from the lab techs, ensuring the swap held. Ethan, in my skin, grew bolder, partying in my body, blowing my savings on bottle service at meatpacking clubs. I watched via hidden cams I'd installed,
Seething.
He was me now, trashing what I'd built, while I wore the monster's mask. The climax brewed in a storm of bad omens, a federal probe sniffing around VC's books, whispers of Marcus's cold case warming up. Gino cornered me in the garage one drizzly October evening, rain sheeting off the Bentley like tears.
Beak.
Word is you're folding on the Whitaker kid. Ethan's sister, hot piece. But she's got your number. I froze, key fob biting into my palm. What are you saying? He smirked, lighting a smoke. She's been asking questions. Lab rats, too. You swap back yet?
Lies.
Mostly Ethan's doing. Probably. Stirring shit for my apartment. But it lit the fuse. I drove to Brooklyn that night, Victor's Maserati growling through pothole hell. Found Ethan me, sprawled on my couch, surrounded by pizza boxes and empty IPAs, scrolling Tinder on my phone. He looked up, my face twisted in his smug grin. About time, Vic. Or should I say, has. The confrontation was raw, electric, fists clenched, words like shrapnel. You framed me, I snarled, voice a hybrid growl. For murder. For your debts. And Mom and Dad? They knew. He laughed, bitter and broken. Knew? They pushed me into it. Victor's game. Swap the guilt. Erase the sin. You were collateral. Sis. Always the fixer. We scrapped then. A blur of unfamiliar limbs, my punch landing in my gut, his knee cracking against Victor's jaw. It ended with him pinned, gasping, his hands around his throat. Switch back, he wheezed. Or, I tell Gino everything. I hesitated, the kill switch humming in my pocket phone. Controversial choice, mercy or erasure. I chose the gray area, injecting him with a sedative from Victor's stash. Bought time. Drove back to the penthouse, bloodied and buzzing, plotting the endgame. The revenge didn't unfold like those Hollywood revenge flicks, no slow-mo montages, no swelling Hans Zimmer score. It was messier, more American, a patchwork of phone calls, forged docs, and moral quicksand that sucked you under one compromise at a time. By November, with Thanksgiving looming like a bad joke, I'd woven a web tight enough to choke the life out of their illusions. As Victor, I leaked selective files to a hungry journalist at the Post, redacted just enough to torch VC's rep without burning mine. Anonymous source, the byline read, but the stink of scandal clung. Ponzi ties. Cold case links to a Philly family's vanished advisor. The feds swarmed Victor's offices like ants on a picnic, hauling boxes while I played the outraged exec, lawyered up to my eyeballs. Ethan, doped and desperate in my apartment, became my unwilling pawn. I fed him scripts via burner texts. Call Mom. Confess the frame job. Blame Victor. His voice, my voice, cracked over the line to Florida, spilling half-truths that had them reeling. Hazel's innocent.
Ma.
It was me. And him. I listened in, hidden on a three-way. Their sobs a symphony of shattered denial. Dad's bluster crumbled. Son, What be you done? Mom wailed about betrayal. Duty twisted into accusation. We trusted you. Both of you. I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remembered the scholarship. The raid. The way they'd always chosen him. The high roller move came mid-probe. I orchestrated a settlement with VC's board. As Victor, I proposed folding the dead arm into a reformed nonprofit, irony thick as fog, using Ethan's $590,000 as the poster child for second chances. Wire the funds from offshore accounts. Clean on paper. Dirty in origin. The parents got their condo saved. A fat check to boot. But laced with strings. NDAs thicker than a Kardashian prenup. Gagging any family chatter about the mix-up. They signed. Greedy and grateful. Blind to the hook I'd buried. Thank you. Hazel, Mom gushed in a follow-up call. Voice syrupy with relief. You're a godsend. I smiled into the void. Victor's reflection smirking back from the screen. Godsend.
Yeah. Right.
But Power's a jealous mistress. And the swap's toll mounted. Victor's echoes grew louder. Night terrors where I'd relive the hit. Marcus's face morphing into Ethan's. Then mine. Physically, cracks showed. Migraines that felled me like a prize fighter. Phantom itches where neural graphs frayed. The lab techs, bought off but jittery, warned of crossover psychosis, personalities bleeding, identities dissolving. I ignored them, dosed on Victor's Adderall stash, pushing harder. Controversial pivot. I seduced Gino's wife at a holiday gala, a leggy redhead named Lena, with eyes like warning flares. Not for kicks, for intel. She spilled over champagne flutes, Gino's side hustle. Skimming Victor's cut, plotting a coup if Vic kept going soft. I filed it away. Another thread in the noose. Ethan's unraveling accelerated the chaos. Holed up in my walk-up. He spiraled, binging my Netflix, raiding my closet for club gear, even hooking up with my on-again Tinder match. A barista named Jax with tattoos like mine, but none of the baggage. I watched the security feed. Bile rising, my body, his hands, desecrating the one thing I'd kept sacred. One night, blackout drunk, he dialed the parents again, slurring confessions that veered into mania.
Ma.
It's not Hazel in here, it's me.
But. Swapped.
Like that movie.
You know?
Freaky Friday from Hell. They chalked it to stress. But doubt seated. Dad called me, the real me. Or Victor me next morning. Your brother's losing it.
Kid.
Talking crazy about body switches. You hear this? I feign concern. Victor's polish masking the glee. Sounds like the pressure's getting to him. I'll handle it. Handle it I did. Dosed his next delivery with a hallucinogen cocktail, amping the psychosis. By dawn, he was pounding on the penthouse door, my face gaunt and wild-eyed, screaming, "Give it back. You're stealing my life." Security, Victor's goons, hauled him off. But not before neighbors peeked. Phones out. Viral potential crackling. I slipped him into a rehab facility on Victor's dime. A discreet spot in the Hamptons where questions got medicated away. Controversial? Abso-fucking-lutely. Kidnapping your own brother in your own skin? That's the kind of gray area felony that keeps therapists in business. As December frosted the city windows, the climax crested in a blizzard-worthy showdown. The feds raided VC. Proper. Headlines screaming, Wall Street witch hunt. Venture mogul linked to cold case. Victor's board scattered like roaches. But I was steps ahead, assets liquidated. trails scrubbed to cayman cleanliness. The parents, sensing the tide, turned frantic. A joint call, voices overlapping in panic. Hazel. The news, it's everywhere. Ethan's missing. And now this Victor Kane? We need you.
Duty again.
That poison chalice. I arranged the meet at a neutral spot. The old family diner in Philly. Formica counters and coffee that tasted like regret. The kind of place where secrets fermented like bad pierogies. I arrived as myself, sort of. The lab had a reversal serum. Experimental as the swap. But I'd held off. Dressed in Victor's overcoat over my old jeans. A hybrid haunting. They were there, huddled in a booth. Mom's perm wilted. Dad's gut straining his flannel. "Honey," she gasped, spotting the coat. "What happened to you?" I slid in. Voice a deliberate mash. Hazel's lilt edged with Victor's gravel. "What happened? You mean what you let happen?" The confession poured out then. Unspooling like a bad therapy session. Ethan's frame. The hit. The payoffs. The swap that let me live their lies from the inside. Dad blustered. Red-faced. Lies. Your brother's always been the victim here. Mom wept, clutching her cross. We did it for love. Hazel. For family.
Love.
The word hung. Controversial as a loaded gun. I laid out the evidence. Printouts from Victor's vaults. Recordings of their calls. Ethan's doped ramblings transcribed. Sign this, I said, sliding over the papers. Full exoneration. Asset transfer of the $590,000 back to me. NDAs sealing their silence. Or the feds get the unredacted files. Your condo. Your pensions. Your love. Gone. They signed. Hands shaking. Eyes hollow. Victory tasted like ash. As I walked out into the snow-whipped streets, sirens wailing in the distance, I triggered the reversal. The serum burned through the four-eyed self-administered pre-meat, a fire that remade me in the cab ride back to the city. Waking fully Hazel again, body reclaimed, but soul scarred, I stared at the passing lights, wondering if I'd won or just traded one cage for another. The twist hit like a gut shot in a dark alley, the kind where you don't see the blade coming until it's buried hilt deep. It was New Year's Eve, the city of fireworks frenzy of false starts and champagne toasts, when the lab tech, the scrawny kid with the guilty conscience I'd bribed into silence, called from a block number. Hazel, it's over. Victor's back. My blood iced. Back. The reversal should have been clean. A neural scrub leaving echoes, but no passengers. But he'd clawed through. Hijacked the serum's back door. Slipping into my body, while I slept off the extraction in a midtown clinic. Ethan, too, freed from rehab. Consciousness restored. But Victor rode shotgun now. Puppeteering from the shadows. I pieced it frantic. Victor hadn't been the victim of the swap. He'd engineered the whole damn thing. The trial was his brainchild. A black market neural net to possess debtors. Live their failures. Extract confessions before foreclosing souls and savings. Ethan wasn't the patsy. He was the architect. Seduced by Victor's promises of wiping the slate. Debts.
Guilt.
The murder rap. All for a cut of the empire. Our parents? Complicit from jump. Dad's union buddies weren't relics. They were Victor's muscle. The ones who'd pulled the trigger on Marcus. Mom's bridge club? A front for laundering widow tears into wire transfers. The $590,000?
Bait.
To lure me in. Make me the ultimate test subject. Swap the fixer. Break the family from within. The truth reversed everything I'd built my revenge on. I wasn't the betrayed sibling clawing back justice. I was the mark in a long con. My power plays just Victor toying with his toy. He, in my body, sent the first taunt text at midnight. My own number mocking me. Happy New Year.
Puppet.
Duty calls. Ask your folks about the real loan. Attached. A video. Grainy but gut-wrenching. Dad in a dimly lit garage. Years back. Handing off a silenced Beretta to a hooded figure. Marcus's please cut short by a muffled pop. Mom's voice off screen. Make it clean. Harold. For the kids. Rage blacked me out. Then sharpened to diamond clarity. I hit the streets. Snow-choked and seething. Hailing a cab to the old diner, our neutral ground, now a trap. They were there. Same booth. But the facade cracked. Dad's eyes darting. Mom's smile brittle as Rice Krispies. Hazel. Sweetie, we were worried. Victor's doing. No doubt. Summoning me to gloat. But I came loaded. A USB drive of counterhacks. Pulled from Victor's servers before the reversal. Every email. Every wire. Every whispered payoff linking them to the Empire's guts. The confrontation was operatic. American Gothic in a greasy spoon wrapper. You sold us all, I spat, slamming the drive down. Ethan.
Me.
Marcus, for what? A condo and clean hands. Dad's bluster faltered. Face folding like wet cardboard. It was survival.
Kid.
The world eats the weak. Mom reached for me. Tears real this time. We protected you. From him. Him. Victor. The ghost in my machine. But the twist deepened. Ethan burst and then, wild-eyed, very much himself, free of the swap, but fractured. It's worse. Victor's not in you, he's in me now. The serum. It's swapped us triple. You're clean. But I'm. The chaos erupted. Accusations flying. Silverware clattering as a waitress gawked. Victor's voice bubbled up through Ethan's lips. That silver fox drawl warping my brother's face. Bravo. Hazel. You almost had it. He lunged Ethan's body. But Victor's intent, and I dodged. Grabbing a steak knife from the table. Controversial calculus flashing. Kin or killer. I slashed. Not to kill. But to wound, grazing his arm. Buying seconds to smash the USB into the diner's ancient POS system. Auto-uploading to every news wire from here to DC. Sirens wailed as the feds swarmed, tipped by my hack. The probe exploding into full indictments. Victor. Trapped in Ethan's shell. Thrashed as cuffs clicked. Conspiracy. Murder. Identity theft on a scale that made Watergate look like checkers. The parents folded like cheap suits. Spilling to save skins. Dad's garage confessions. Mom's ledgers. The whole rotten core. Ethan, my real brother. Consciousness flickering back as Victor's neural grip slipped, collapsed sobbing. I did it for us. To end the debt.
But he
twisted it. The ending? Debatable as a hung jury. I walked free. Charges dropped, self-defense. Whistleblower status. The fixer flipped to hero in the tabloids. The $590,000? Seized as evidence. But restitution carved out a nest egg. Enough to ditch the grind for a quiet life upstate. Maybe write the book that outs the neural underground. Ethan got 10 years. Reduced for cooperation. Rehab in a Fed pen. Therapy for the possession scars. Parents? Florida extradition. Facing racketeering counts. Their duty devolving to collect calls from county lockup.
happy?
In fragments. I reclaimed my body, my name. But the mirrors still lie, eyes haunted by Victor's ghost. Echoes of power's poison. Tragic? If you count the family autopsy, the way love curdled into leverage. Or maybe it's cautionary. In America's Game of Thrones, where debt's a noose and swaps are just metaphors for the cons we pull on ourselves, turning tables leaves you dizzy, wondering who dealt the cards. As the ball dropped that night, alone in my old apartment, fireworks popping like suppressed shots, I raised a glass to the ruins. To duty.
Done.
To tables.
Turned.
And to whatever fresh hell the morning brings. But deep down, in the quiet hours when the city's hum fades to a whisper, I wonder, did I win? Or just become the monster I swapped with? That's the real controversy, the one that lingers, unanswerable, like a debt you can never quite pay off.